Hey family, thank you for tuning into Our Roots podcast with Joseph Baba Ifa. We're only the strongest roots see the light, brought to you by Botánica candles and more. And if you haven't had the opportunity, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Really excited about today's episode, one that I've been thinking about for years, but I finally got talked into doing by Miss 𝗃𝗏𝗍 as well as Phil. And today's video is going to be on how to take care of the warriors, specifically Eshu, more than anybody. When we look at the Odu of 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗶, Eshu stated that my friends are those who feed me and my enemies are those who are willing and able to watch me starve. How does that sound, Phil?
Man.
It's epic.
My friends are those who feed me and my enemies are those who watch me starve.
Yeah. So we don't want to be Eshu's enemy. That was actually a play on words for him because his enemies don't last long. So the reason we felt comfortable, doing this video is because Eshu is kind of on site. Like, you look at him, that's pretty much what you see is what you get. So we're going to go through the basic steps on how to take care of him. And we'll also go over Ogun and Oshosi. There is a little caveat here, though. Technically, Osun, or 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗶𝗍, the silver metal rooster, is not part of the warriors. If we look at the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗍𝗶, because of the warriors, Osun was never allowed to sleep again because they slaughtered 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗲's goat and smeared the blood on his lips. And because of that, he really hated the warriors and went to go live with Orula and 𝗿𝗏𝗍𝗏. But we'll go over him a little bit as well, too, because he's pretty to the point as well. What we probably won't ever make a video on is Orula, how to take care of him and whatnot, because it's in a bowl, one of those things that, just based on my training, culture, customs, probably won't put that on camera. But Eshu all day. So Eshu is ultimately composed of 5 steps, right? Bare minimum. Now, you could always add more, but bare minimum 5. Another thing to note is that Eshu, ideally, we want to take care of him once a week. It doesn't have to be on Monday. The reason Monday was associated with Eshu is because in the Western world, Monday is kind of the beginning of the work week. So it was seen as a good habit, take care of Eshu on Monday, get the week off to a great start, etc. But in reality, when you look at the Odu Okanafung, the day that is Monday is actually known as Ojoaje, or the day of wealth, right? And it's actually a day associated more with orishas, or money. But Eshu can bring a bunch of that too. So if you take care of on Mondays, that's great. If you don't, that's great too. Just make sure we're taking care of this guy once a week. So first step is going to be alcohol. Shout out to Bacardi. Hopefully we get sponsored from this, Phil.
I'm showing it on the screen now.
We appreciate.
So do your best, Vanna White.
No ingestion. You got the gold joint?
Yeah.
It's nice. And with Eshu, family, you can offer him any type of liquor, right? The bottom shelf or the top shelf, it's really up to you. If you're working a lot, the biggest, most economic bottle is going to be your best bet. But if it's for your personal orishas and you want to do something special, you can give him something nice as well. But my Eshu drinks brown, so here we go. And now you have 2 options, and I'm not going to do it so I don't destroy Phil's office or studio. You have the option of pouring it over him. By the way, this is the most handsome Eshu online. This is my personal Eshu 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏. I've been with this guy since I was 17. He looks a little beat up, but this guy has been with me through every ceremony. Hand of Ifa, Orisha, Ifa, 𝗃𝗶𝗚𝗏, Dua, everybody. So this is my faithful friend. This is the guy I was homeless with, and just giving him his shine for sure. But the first step is the liquor. You can pour it on him, or you can do the elephant spray method, as I like to call it. And there's actually a video on this channel before the podcast started teaching you guys the technique to be able to elephant spray it on him as well. But if you don't like ingesting alcohol or even letting it touch your lips, a capful is more than enough. Now, mind you, this is the basic 𝗃𝗏𝗶𝗶 way of taking care of Eshu. We'll go over the 𝗃𝗶𝗂𝗹𝗁 way a little bit. Basically the same thing, just a few minor components that are different, right? So first thing, rum or any type of alcohol. And that actually manifested in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗶𝗲𝗍. Why we offer spirits or liquor to the orishas, because it gets their attention, especially if we do the process of iriseo, which means the mist descends, kind of making reference to the elephant kind of spray that you kind of do on it. Or it means, I'm waking you up, or look at me to work with you. So it's a way to kind of get their attention. Remember that this is an Eshu icon, but this doesn't necessarily mean that Eshu lives here. We still have to call the spirituality back, all of these different things to be able to influence and offer to him in a way that's going to be productive, right? What is step 2? Step 2 is water, right? The orishas in the 𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗍𝗶 were going thirsty because there was a drought and they were all dying. And Oshun, in her form of the peacock, said, I'm going to fly to Olorun's palace and see if I can advocate on our behalf to save everybody because they were all dying, orishas and humans alike. So Oshun the peacock started flying towards the sun, and as she got closer, she ended up becoming the vulture from the heat. When she arrived, half dead, Olorun or Olodumare, God Almighty, saw her and told his servants, please give her some water. When he did, she rejuvenated a little bit and told him, hey, your children are dying. They need the same thing you just gave me. And he said, well, they don't deserve it. They misbehave. They make no offerings. It's just Sodom and Gomorrah down there. So she said, well, everybody deserves a second chance, and you have to be patient because they're your kids. And, he was so impressed by her efforts, being that she was the smallest orisha. She was the one that people usually disregarded. She did the most heroic act. And he sent the rains down. And when she flew back down, she was hailed till this day. And ironically, that's actually my Oshun path, which is Oshun Ibukole. So the orishas always receive water, right? That's why when the orisha comes down in the drumming processes, you'll hear them say, 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍𝗁, which means all of you have called me and now I'm here, which is a way of saying, give me something to drink because I've come from far. They always come thirsty as a reminiscence of the vulture going between heaven and earth, right? So same thing, step 1, repeat it, and step 2 with water, right? Spit it or pour it. So here we go, a little H2O. Ironically, in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍𝗶 is also the water verse, the famous alolomi alolomi atiwaye gun, which has a couple other stanzas after it, but that's all in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍𝗶, why the orishas take water. And to a certain degree, some people would debate, well, Baba 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗶𝗍 doesn't take water. He does, it's just coconut water, right? You just add a little coconut water into it, and we'll get through that ceremony, right? So here's the thing with Eshu. Eshu is a glutton. He is somebody that, if it was up to him, he would eat a rooster or a goat every day. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? So we wanted to find a way, as a culture and as spiritual practitioners, to appease him without having to feed him every day. So this material, known as 𝗃𝗶𝗍𝗶, or red palm oil, was identified in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍𝗶. And it was placed on top of him to be able to replace the blood and keep him satiated until we fed him again, right? So ideally, your Eshu should be fed once a year, at least, right? But usually that's more than enough. With a rooster, or if you're trying to be, really special, a goat or something of that nature, right? But Eshu eats everything except black palm oil. Please never put black palm oil on Eshu. It is also known as adi. Stay away. It's also a taboo for Orula, right? So when we're talking about the red palm oil, it replaces the blood and it keeps him nice and calm, right? Because when Eshu didn't have blood or a substitute on him in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍𝗶𝗏, in his manifestation of Eshu Larufa, he would start like morphing, kind of like Mr. Smith on the Matrix. So we don't want that. So we keep him nice and covered in it. Now you only have to put the red palm oil when he's dry. My Eshu just recently ate, so he's looking a little gray because we hosed him off and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to simply offer some red palm oil to Eshu. All right. Now, usually this stuff, this one's made by Omni, but anyone will do fine. This is pure, you know. This is the famous grease that, you know, a lot of Afro-descendant cultures cook with, especially in Brazil when they make acara, right? So we got a nice big clump there. This stuff will last. Got a nice little haircut.
Oh, I didn't know it was thick like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this stuff lasts, bro. Now, the most important thing to always remember is that offerings should touch the orisha icon, and the red palm oil is no different. So definitely you always want to focus on the rock, right, which is on top, because that's actually the orisha in this whole dynamic, right? But we don't just want to leave them like that. So with your Eshu, the way to really build that relationship is by doing this, and you start moisturizing them, right? You don't have to do it on the flat part on the bottom, but you kind of want to get all of this surface area, right? Face, lips, nose. Don't be afraid to put it in his eyes. It's all symbolic at best. The reason our Eshus look different in the Lukumi tradition is because we base ourselves off of the Odu 𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗁. And in 𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗁, it was identified that Eshu wanted to have cowries on his face so he could have a face. When you look at the traditional Eshus in 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗁, they don't have a face. It's a nice yangi stone with some clay, and they'll usually, you know, put some cowries on there, you know, with the Odu, and they're beautiful as well. I have quite a few. So you take your time. And this is the moment when you really want to ask him for stuff, tell him thank you, have a moment of gratitude. Eshu and the orishas are not our slave. They're our parents. They're our family. So, you know, they don't have to do anything they don't want to do. So if we're nice, we might get something out of the deal other than the satisfaction of the spiritual development that comes with it. All right, now I got a finger full of palm oil. I didn't think this one through, Philip.
Do you need something?
Do you have a paper towel? I don't want to eat the red palm oil in front of the public. You know, they're like, whoa, Baba.
We got you.
You're the best. Just one, brother. Awesome. Thank you. All right. And once again, you only apply the red palm oil when he's dry. If you notice next week when you're going to take care of Eshu, he's still pretty moisturized. Don't put any more red palm oil on him because you're going to make a real mess. Now, up until this point, we've spoken only about Eshu, right? But the other components of members of the warriors are Oggun and Oshosi, who live inside the iron pot. When you pour rum on him, you could pour some on them. Water as well, right? The red palm oil, based on the way the tools are kind of coming in now from distributors, I would only rub it on the inside of the pot and the tools once a year, or unless it's fed, right, where it needs to be reapplied. Because the metal before used to actually, like, suck it up, like the iron. Now things are based out of aluminum with very little iron concentrate, so it never really gets absorbed. So if you keep adding it and adding it and adding it, you can make a real mess, right? And as far as Osung, if you're not a babalawo, his attention is when you attend to Orumila, right? And you just pour some water on him. He, unfortunately, in the Odu of Ogun Osung, if you're not a babalao, you really don't have to make much offerings to him. Now, you'll hear some people say, oh, well, Osung is property of a badala. He was at one point, but modernly, none of us ever saw that. As long as human beings have been here, he's been property of Orumila, right? So that's why, you know, things like shea butter and cacaria and all those things on top of Osung, kind of unnecessary, you know? In reality, Osung actually appreciates red palm oil as much as Orula does because he is Orula's staff and counterpart. Excuse me. So, you know, at best, some red palm oil, but that's really it because technically he's not supposed to be drinking any alcohol, right? Because he was punished because he got drunk, you know. And then, you know, if you don't want to put the red palm oil, just some drops of water, and that's really it. He's symbolic at best. Keep him cool, keep him fresh, keep him moving, right? So we've gotten through 3 steps, right? What is step 4? And step 4 is some type of food offering, right? So today we have some of the most basic Eshu offerings you can get. By the way, all of this can be ordered from and bought at Botánica Candles and More, except for the bottle at the end, right? We have some 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏, or dried rat, right? We're going to start here. This is known as Eku. Now, this may be pretty radical for some people, but you're actually supposed to put the ingredient on top of Eshu's rock, because until it touches that, the orisha never received it. So I've done coachings with people where they're like, Baba, I take care of my orishas, I do it diligently, I'm not seeing any results with my Eshu, I think it's not working. And I tell them, let me see your Eshu situation. And they'll have a bowl with the ingredients in front of Eshu rather than putting it on Eshu. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to get this guy dirty. So the more you put on him, the more he works. So whether it's this, a piece of cake, a steak, whatever it is, you have to lay it on top of the Eshu for sure. Right? This is fish, or 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗃, little Salt Bay. And then usually these three are given in conjunction. We have some 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗏, which is corn. All of these are fertility and prosperity ingredients. Eshu is also highly related with the rat. Sorry if I make a mess, Phil. Right? And just like that, we have a food offering. How long do we leave the food offering on? For a week or until it goes bad? Whichever one comes first. You know, if something's stinking after the first day, you don't have to leave it there for a week. So that's up until step 4, right? Step 5. Step 5 is a candle. This is one of the candles we sell at the store. This is an Elegua, or Eshu, prepared candle. So these are pretty exclusive to the store for the most part. And at the top, what differentiates them is that we put all of these ingredients, rat, fish, powdered corn, little alcohol, red palm oil, all of these things on the top of the candle so that it is basically permeating that energy through the house. So those are the best options, in my opinion. Now, we do have other ones. You can put an Elegua candle, right, which might be half red, half black, or half white, half black. You can use an all-white one as well, or an all-red one. The one I would avoid is an all-black candle. It's not that black is bad, but it might not be as productive because it might tap into more the Eshu aspect of things than the Elegua aspect of things, right? Baba, what about the cigars? Believe me, I have not forgotten. The cigar technically is a food offering, technically. So it can fulfill that same space as the rat, fish, and corn, or maybe you want to do it anyway on top of a food offering, or maybe you don't like cigars at all, but there's a way around that. So you don't have to puff the cigar backwards onto his face. Most people don't like smoke being blown on their face. So for someone such as myself who appreciates premium cigars, I'll smoke one next to him. And there's this little trick, I'll give it to everybody because it makes a lot of money, where you actually drop the ash on top of Eshu, right? And as you're smoking, you're putting your intentions into the cigar, meditating, all these different things. And that powder at the end, the ash at the end, is actually good for money. So you can blow it out of the house, sprinkle it throughout the house, incorporate it in a bath, sprinkle some in the wallet, leave it on top of him, etc. And you could actually, when you're done with the cigar, if you don't finish it all the way, break the cigar to get all the filings and things like that out, the leaves, and cover Eshu in it. And that is to bring prosperity. And I'm going to tell you the pataki as to why in a moment. But for those that don't like to smoke per se, but still want to put one for whatever reason, you'd light it, puff it like 3 times, and you'd leave it next to him. And that's sufficient. And you can still do the same thing with the leaves as well. Fabulous for money. So tobacco actually became a prosperity item or symbol in the Odu of Obeyono, where it was the plant that belonged to Ajay, right, or Orisha Ajay. But who was Orisha Ajay's faithful companion and friend? Eshu Alajay. So at that moment, Eshu realized that he appreciated the leaves, the smell, the interaction with it, and that he would utilize it to bring prosperity to not only him, but his children and recipients. So that's why the cigar is so highly associated with Eshu. There's another padaki in the Odu of Baba 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗏, which I actually didn't get a chance to say in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗏 episode, was where death was coming to visit Orunmila. and 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗯 performed divination. Oggun 𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗃 was revealed, where Ifa told him to perform sacrifice with liquor, cigars, and food. And he was told to leave it to Eshu, who lived right outside his front door, and to go back into the house. When death arrived, Eshu was like, hey, what's up? I haven't seen you in a while. No, I'm here to kill Orula. Well, before you do that, let's hang out a little bit. You know, what's the rush?
Okay.
And Eshu actually offered cigars and alcohol and food to Death. And they partied a little bit. And after Death got bored, he said, all right, I'm going to go in and kill Orula now. And Eshu said, you can't do that because divine law says you can't kill the hand that, and Death said, feeds you. So he realized that Eshu had tricked him into not being able to kill Orula because he had just consumed all of 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗯's resources, right? So at that point, Death said, hey, man, make sure he keeps up these habits with you, and he'll live a long time. You know what I'm saying? He has a good friend in you. So Death left, and as he was leaving, Orula came out and saw Death from behind and looked at Eshu and said, what happened there? He said, well, he tried to kill you. I gave him some of the stuff. He left. He said, as long as you keep me happy, you're happy. And Orula said, you'll always be happy. This is actually the pataki why at the table of Ifa, the babalawos consume cigars, a moderate amount of alcohol, and quite a bit of food, right? But it's to be able to repel death and negativity from that ceremony, and it's all because of Eshu's ingenuity, right? So the cigar is able to be incorporated, no problem. With Eshu, sometimes you're going to hear people say, well, what about honey? I'm not a huge fan of honey on a regular basis because with an icon like this, the honey, even though it has a preservative quality, it just makes things very, very, very uncomfortable. If you're going to do that as your food offering, a little drizzle, nothing more than that. With the warriors, right, such as Ogun and Ochosi, technically they share whatever you give Eshu. So they'll share from this candle where you don't have to light another one of them. They'll share from these offerings. They kind of eat in conjunction. But let's say you want to do something special for them every now and again, right? I recommend larger items for the pot. I wouldn't recommend powders and things like that because it'll make a mess very quickly. You can have a very little bit just perpetually, but overall, the big thing with them is things like watermelons, bananas, preferably the green bull ones as they're known, meats, raw or cooked. You lay the steak right over the pot. If you want to give them their own candle, Ogun and Ochosi candle is fine. Cigar for them. However you want to stimulate that relationship. But the bare minimum is taking care of Eshu once a week, right? And once again, we went over Osun, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Now, guys, with Eshu, remember that it's so important to take care of him. We want this guy to be our friend. We want him to understand us, us to understand him. Make sure you spend time with him and create that relationship because as long as you take care of Eshu, things will not get worse, right? So that's very key to know and understand. When we're in a pickle, usually the first person, being that he's the first orisha we do receive, we want to, speak to Eshu first so that things don't go backwards, right? And usually if they are going backwards, it's because somehow we have not fulfilled our obligations to him. Another point of interest is we should never have just 3 candles in a room. We can have 1, 2, 4, or more, but never just 3. Because in the Odu of Oshebara was where Oshun had triplets, and the third one was Ideu, and unfortunately he passed away. So the third candle became a commemoration for his loss, and it caused or called that negativity, obviously with the loss of a young child. So being that there's 3 warriors, most people be like, yeah, Elegua, Ogun, Ochosi candle. But you don't want to just have 3 candles. You have to have either more or less, right? So very key concept to always recall. For the ladies that have this deity or the others that we've mentioned, right? Menses is taboo. And the reason being is not because of any anti-femininity. It's because the Iamio Shoronga reside within the coagulations of blood of menses, right? So being that they are deities that are very hot, very aggressive, and want to steal offerings, it may make the offering less effective when you're offering to deities such as this. But You can take care of Orunmila on your menses because in Baba Ifa, Oshun saved Orula's life with a basically piece of clothing that was covered in menses. So he doesn't have an issue with it. Everybody else kind of does. Even the female orishas, right? So that's always a very important topic, right? Couple things you want to have by your Eshu in general. Eshu and the warriors should be living on the floor. They gain their energy from being in contact with the earth. That's what keeps them charged up. And that's in the Odu of Osache, where cigars, a path of Eshu, lived within the ground. That's why Eshu is constructed of cement, rocks, iron, minerals. These guys are earth children, for sure. So if you're unable to have them outside in the dirt, it's okay to have them on the floor in a nice terracotta plate. We sell these at the store too. And that way that energy kind of stays maintained there. But Eshu, Ogun, and Oshosi should always live next to each other. That's in the Odu of 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 or 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 or 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶, where they would always roll together. That's also in the Odu of 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, amongst many, right? Another thing you want to have next to your Eshu, which usually isn't included in the Mano Orula, is one of two things, or both. A maraca. He's a fan of it. Simple, basic brown one, or maybe one that's more elaborate with red and black paint to identify him. I have seen these plates as well, painted red and black. And another thing is his garabato, which is the hooked staff of the guayaba tree, or Oggun, as it's known in 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃, right? It's his power staff that he uses to be able to open up the paths and create opportunities for us, etc., right? But guys, I mean, for all intents and purposes, make sure you take a bath beforehand. You know, be hygienic. You don't have to avoid brushing your teeth, by the way. Eshu doesn't appreciate halitosis just like most people don't. So he's going to recognize you regardless if it smells horrible or if it smells like Colgate, right? So please go through your normal hygienic processes, take care of your orishas so you feel comfortable and all will be well.
How long does this process take?
Honestly, brother, like a lot of people ask me, they're like, Baba, you know, I'm a little scared. I want to receive Hand of Ifa, but I feel like I don't have the time to fulfill. And Eshu and the orishas really look like people that you can't really flake on. And I said, you're absolutely right. You know, when you make a pact and you decide to enter into these things or an obligation as an adult, you have to fulfill whether it's uncomfortable or not. But honestly, Ifa orisha, after the Hand of Ifa, only takes 15 minutes a week. Because, I mean, we're taking a little bit longer now because I'm explaining each step and the ingredients and why these things and etc. But in reality, if I was to just zip through it, you know, I mean, how long does it take to pour water, rum, a little red palm oil, sprinkle some food, and light a candle? I mean, you can get it done in as little as 5 minutes if you're really trying to go that quick. I don't recommend that. I recommend that you have a moment of communion and a moment of encounter with these energies because this is your family. I mean, in my case, when I was displaced and I had these guys in a box sleeping by my head, they were all I had. So these are the people I'd talk to. These are the people I'd share with. These were the people I understood, you know, or I felt understood me. So when we get to the point when we look at these things not just as rocks and cement and as energies and, you know, entities that really know what we're going through and loving us, I think we'll get even better results out of it. So there's so many other things you can incorporate here for sure, but this is the bare basic minimums within our tradition. Now, within 𝗃𝗶𝗃𝗃, which I think is worth covering as well, they have something known as the Osheifa, which is where you take care of a deity every 4 days, give him obi and things like that. And, you know, for those initiated there, you're more than welcome. The Osheifa ultimately manifested in the Odu of 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, or 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗃𝗃𝗃, 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗃𝗃, right? You know, where basically their week is 4 days, our week is 7, and you take care of them once a week, right? But in 𝗃𝗃𝗃, the ingredients might be a little more streamlined. Red palm oil is big, salt is big, oti, or any type of liquor is big. They don't utilize candles that much because being that Eshu is seen as the absence of light within the cosmos or the black hole, most light can't make it through or out of there. You know, and honey really isn't something that they utilize for anything other than like an Eshu alaje, right? which is the Eshu that has to do with orisha. So honey's a big ingredient over there. Being that it's made out of wood, the red palm oil and things like that might have some corrosive effects there. But it's really not a complicated process. In the 𝗃𝗏𝗵 tradition, I don't recommend offering obi from a divination standpoint because you haven't gone through orisha or ifa. But in 𝗃𝗵𝗃, they don't have those restrictions. Get your Eshu fed once a year, something, even if it's a baby chick, whatever you can afford, but have it done on your behalf so that, you're fulfilling with this guy. There's nothing he doesn't understand. But I think this video will create a lot of discourse and a lot of questions to come in. And, we make ourselves available because I know that there's a lot of people that weren't taught how to take care of these things. Like, for example, when we give hand of Ifa to someone, and this is honestly kind of how the channel started, we were just trying to put up content where they didn't have to always seek us out to ask the same, entry-level questions. So that's kind of what we're doing here, too. Just hopefully everybody benefits from it. But, we always, within 2 weeks after the hand of Ifa, set up, if someone's at a distance or in person, an appointment for them to come in, and we teach them how to take care of their things in person, go over their sign a little bit more, from 𝗃𝗏𝗃, and make sure they feel comfortable and satisfied with the ceremony. But not everybody had that luxury, of accountable elders. So we want to make sure that we provide options like this and content so that you can have a reference, because if we don't take care of these things, things don't go well. There's nothing worse than seeing a dry Eshu or an offeringless Oggun, or orishas that aren't attended to, because the person could benefit from just this simple investment of time and energy, and they might not even know. So we felt obligated, being that Eshu or Ogun and Ochosi are to-the-face deities that are exposed. There's really no reason not to explain how to take care of them, and there's nothing taboo in that. Orula's a little different, right? But also, most handsome Eshu online. Don't know about his owner, but really excited and hope that this provides some value for you guys, and get to taking care of them.
This is very interesting, man.
Yeah, man, definitely. Just happy to put it on camera in a way where it's accessible and understandable, and hopefully help a bunch of people start taking care of their things so they can see the return on investment that they put in. Because people go through a lot of hardships sometimes to be able to receive these things. I know I did. So I was always blessed to have elders that actually walk me through the process, which is what we try to provide to those that might not.
So once a week, right?
Yep.
And you sit on the floor?
Yep. By the door as well.
By the door.
As much as possible. Ideally, he should live outside. I mean, when you look at old dudes like 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃, 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃, Eshu lived outside because he was a bad boy. And he was always flipping out. Like, 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃, Eshu Larufa would have like just, metamorphosis, and he would like be one way one day and another day the next day. Like, he was all over the place. So Orula was like, I need you outside of the house. Like, I love you, but you gotta live, you gotta have your space, I gotta have mine. So Eshu should not be in anybody's bedroom, ideally, unless you have no other space. Like, the orishas will accommodate to you. Now, some people ask me too, they're like, Baba, my family's Christian, they come over sometimes. I really don't want to deal with, them telling me I'm going to hell or anything like that.
What is that?
What the hell is that? So you can get a cabinet or a cupboard, and they have them where they're very close to the floor, or actually the base is on the floor, and they can live in there, and you can lock them in there, and you can interact with them whenever you like. Don't have a lit candle in any closed space like that, of course, please. People have burned down their houses with candles to the orishas. It doesn't make us any more special. We're still at risk for fire hazards. So please, please, please do not leave candles lit. You do not have to leave a candle lit all the time for it to be fully effective. You can light it, shut it off, and light it again. That's why there's a material in there for it to be relit. Or if you feel more comfortable, one tea light, and that's enough for the week. You just light another one again the next week. A candle does not have to be perpetually lit to get the best results out of it. So I think that's pretty key as well.
What about if you have nosy pets?
Actually, I think that's a great point, brother. Let me take a sip of water, but
yeah. Because I know that people have dogs, who have cats that want to get in everything.
Great point. Believe it or not, anytime a food offering is eaten by an animal, it's a message from nature that the offering was accepted in general. So in the Odu of 𝗃𝗿𝗃𝗍 or 𝗃𝗃𝗿𝗃𝗍, right? There was a situation where a king was experiencing a revolution, and he didn't really understand why. He was about to be dethroned and beheaded. It's known as the Odu of the French Revolution. And he did divination on his behalf with 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶, where Ifa said he needed to make offerings to Eshu. And when he did, Eshu said the reason these people are trying to kill you is because they're hungry. You're not organizing and distributing food sources well enough to keep them satisfied with your position. So he told the king, give me the food and I'll distribute it, and I'll make sure you keep your crown. And Eshu did just that. He actually turned into a dog, and he was leaving the food all over the place, and people recognized the dog and thanked him and thanked the king. And that's why till this day, if you notice, when people see a hungry dog, they'll give him food, like instinctively. Because in 𝗃𝗿𝗃𝗍, Eshu became the dog, known as 𝘃cie𝘂𝗹𝗵, and actually saved the public and the kingdom. So that's why if a dog eats your offerings, I mean, obviously we don't want the poor thing eating chocolate, it'll die. But if he eats an offering that he can eat and not get hurt, let him eat it, because Eshu as such is a dog. For the longest time, it's been understood that dog was a taboo for Eshu. We've learned that that's not necessarily the case, because if he was rolling with Oggun, he ate dog, but it's not something that he's fond of per se. He'll tolerate it, but Eshu in his manifestation of Ayankolo is a dog. So if your pets eat it, or another great point that comes from that as well, children, right? Eshu loves the kids, right? So let's say you put a piece of cake there, and it's fresh, and one of your toddlers comes up and starts eating it or takes a piece of it or whatever. There's no taboo here. That's once again nature responding positively. But Eshu doesn't have an issue with any of those things. If someone is not initiated in Eshu or doesn't have their Eshu icon, they should not be touching somebody else's. Just out of hygienics and spiritualism, spirituality, because Eshu doesn't know who that person is. But let's say you're married to somebody else who has Eshu and your Eshu's there and they want to take care of it for you with your permission and vice versa. That's perfectly fine. I actually encourage it because I noticed that the couples that practice Ifa together, they last longer and their spirituality grows, and it just makes for a great condition and home situation. So definitely you guys should be taking care of your things together. They should live together. Family, one of the most gratifying and emotional moments of my life was when I taught my daughter how to take care of Eshu and Ifa and all these different things, and we took care of it, and she put the palm oil on, and it was satisfying for me because the greatest inheritance we'll give our children is identity and culture, right? So be sure to incorporate your children as much as they want to, when they have their things. But if the kid accidentally touches Eshu or whatnot, it's really not an issue. Now, we don't want him throwing Eshu across the room and, busting his head open. But other than that, he's all about family. He's all about the home. And that's why these guys are known as the warriors, because they're the first line of defense for the home. If you look at the Odu of 𝗃𝗿𝗵𝗿, the warriors, Eshu, Ogun, Ochosi, were the ones who would guard the town. 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗍 says it as well. Eshu would be the first one to see people come in and the last one to see people leave. So he was the watchdog. He was the watchman all the way around. So, without him, what can we say? Now, another thing I'll mention before we bring it full circle is in 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏, you might not receive Eshu in your hand of Ifa. More than likely, Eshu will be propitiated somehow or offered to, and you'll just receive your hand, which is perfectly fine because ideally you'd be receiving Eshus from your Odu solely anyway. So that'll usually come afterwards. Where in the Lukumi process, ideally, you go through the first step, which is the hand of Ifa or plante, where you receive your warriors, Orumila and Osung, simultaneously. But technically, even within that process, you receive Eshu first. So Eshu is either the first deity you receive or the first deity you offer to, right? Or last, depending on the tradition. Because, Okanasa, sometimes Eshu is the last guy, depending on the Ebo and 𝗃𝗍𝗃. So what do you think, Phil?
Great episode, man. I obviously never knew how to do any of this stuff, so I learned a lot just from watching you, and I got a chance to play with some of the other camera angles. So,
yeah,
if you're watching, obviously comment below. Make sure you tell us what you think. But
questions, yeah.
Any questions? And before we get out of here, it's time to show some love to the people that show love to you. And I'll put Eshu back on the screen.
Oh yeah.
All right, so guys, if you click on the button that's underneath the video, it says join. That gives you access to 3 separate tiers. You pick your poison, I guess. And we have extra shows, exclusive shows, early releases, discounts on merch, all that jazz. So we're gonna show some love to just the VIPs today. We got Victor Rivero.
Thank you.
We got Yoga Rudy.
Oru.
Ryan Montesino.
All right.
Kathy.
Okay.
We got
Blessings.
It's Lizzie.
Okay.
Billy Tan.
Okay.
Jennifer Rowe.
Nice.
Anthony.
Blessings.
And Animal Crackers. And Keys. Don't forget Keys.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely in the running between B, Hemp Lord, and Hotlanta for sure.
Right.
Shout out to all the members. Shout out to all the people that watch. Sincerely appreciate you guys. If you know somebody that can benefit from the membership, please let them know about it. Classes are also going on, whether it's the 4-week curriculum on basic Ifa and Orisha topics or the in-depth Mojubba class where you can learn your Mojubba to begin to start reciting it. Botánica-candlesandmore.com is up and running for all service and product needs. We do ship. If you can't catch us on YouTube, be sure to catch us on any of the other apps to be able to hear us on the audio cast. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. A big thank you from all of us here, especially Eshu and Our Roots Podcast. And until next time, see the light.